So the other day I was scrolling through TikTok and I came across that one Mariah Carey video, and then it reminded me that Christmas is coming soon. And then I realized with her that I was broke. And so I counted how many people I had to get gifts for, then I checked my bank account, then I counted my friends and family again, and I went back to my bank account just in case I hadn't seen properly, and I realized the math wasn't my thing. As I was saying, I started to panic about the gigantic number of friends and family I'd have to make gifts for, and I was also stressing about the amount of money I'd have to spend because, let's admit it, I'm a little bit of a rat. And so then I had a genius idea. I would use my incredible artistic gifts, no pun intended, to craft the gifts myself. That way, I wouldn't have to spend a single penny, and then I could take over the world. But that's for later. So welcome to Christmas DIY gift ideas that you can make easily and without spending a single penny, and that your friends and family will actually like. Hi, I'm Anna, and I love crafting silly gifts. So the first gift I crafted was a little felt pouch. So I cut a rectangle of 27 centimeters out of 9 centimeters on a piece of felt. I have been obsessed with felt craft recently. I don't know, felt is just so fun and easy to use. Once that was done, I went through all of my ribbons and embroidery threads and beads to see what I could use to make this little pouch, and my cat helped me a little, I guess. As I decided to add strawberries on the pouch, I traced them on some red felt, and then I cut the strawberries, and I did the same for the little leaves on a really tiny scrap of felt that I had left. And yeah, I was really glad I kept this because the other green felt pieces I had were not the right color. I am the most indecisive person ever, and I don't know if I want to make like pink stars or if I want to make blue stars. I genuinely don't know. Or maybe I can make blue and pink stars, but then it's gonna make a lot of colors. I don't know. So as you can see, being really indecisive, I ended up making blue stars as well as pink stars. And once all of my felt elements were created, I placed them onto the pouch to see how I would place them next to one another. As you can see, I decided to glue the little elements to secure them a little bit before sewing them, but that wasn't really a good idea because it made the felt really hard to go through with a needle. So yeah, definitely choose one or the other, but not both of these techniques, because it definitely made things really tedious for me. I started by using embroidery thread for the stars, but then I decided I would use regular sewing thread for the strawberries because there is no rational reason. I just wanted to use thinner thread, but you can honestly just design your own pouch and you can make so many things, so many different things depending on your taste and on the person you're gifting this to. I then used embroidery thread to sew the buttons to make sure that they were really secure, and I used a little red ribbon to tie the pouch, but you can also use an elastic thread, for instance. I also added a button on top of the red ribbon just to hide the mess that was under it, and yeah, I really like the way it looks. What I love about this craft is that depending on what you have at home, like which type of buttons, which type of threads or ribbons, your pouch will be totally different, and there's a part of chance, and I just love that. Like, you never know what you're gonna get. And then I realized that you could see at the back of the felt the ugly sewing threads and knots, and I didn't like this, so I decided that I would add another layer of felt on the inside to make the whole thing cleaner. So I cut a rectangle of blue felt, which was a tad shorter and thinner than the white rectangle. I then used embroidery thread to tie it all together. I believe the type of stitch I used is called a blanket stitch, and I just love this type of stitch because it is so easy to do and it makes things really sturdy and it is really pretty. So yeah, I love this stitch. And it's also kind of the only one I know. Once I was done sewing the outside, I tried to get the thread back inside to make the knot inside so it wouldn't be too noticeable. And then I also sewed the two front pieces of felt together. You now have a cute little pouch to put lip balm in or ear pods or whatever that you can give to your friends or family or I don't know. The next little gift you can craft that I thought was a really fun and original idea is a tic-tac-toe board. You're going to start by taking a piece of cardboard and trace a circle in it. Then you're going to split the circle into 5 more or less equal parts, and at the end of them you're going to draw some petal shapes. After cutting it, you're going to create a little snake out of tinfoil in order to create 3-dimensional borders. As you can see, I used some tape to keep it all in place. Now, you could make this out of clay, but since there's already another tutorial where I'm using clay on this video, I really wanted to show you that even if you don't have a lot of material at home, you can still craft some really cool stuff. And then I cut 4 pieces of cardboard and I placed them at the center of the board using glue and tape. And after that, it was time to cover it all with toilet paper or tissue paper or paper towel, whatever you have, and some Mod Podge. If you don't have Mod Podge, you can also create some sort of paper mache glue using flour and water. I don't know the exact recipe, but I'm sure you can find it on the internet. I did this once when I didn't have Mod Podge, and it honestly turned out pretty good. The only thing was that the glue took a little more time to dry, but nothing horrendous. This step really helps make the board sturdy, and it also adds this kind of paper mache texture that I personally really like. Once the structure of the board is done, I started making the little pawns. Honestly, if you care at all about your own mental well-being, just make them with air dry clay or even polymer clay, because the way I made them took a lot of time. So I cut little circles out of cardboard and I added tinfoil on top to create a round shape. Then I covered them up with tissue paper and Mod Podge, wondering when my life choices went wrong to lead me to do such an annoying thing. After approximately 15 years and 2 months working on these little pawns, it was finally time to paint. I tried to create a little gradient by progressively blending my base color with more and more yellow and shading it off with my fingers and a beauty blender. And for the pawns, I decided I would create little ladybugs and bumblebees using yellow and red acrylic paint and a black acrylic pen. And after this, I varnished the whole thing with Mod Podge. For the first bookmark I created, I was really inspired by one of those teacups felt bookmarks I saw on Pinterest, and I thought it was the absolute cutest thing ever, and I just had to make one. Because I love drinking tea while reading, and I'm pretty sure my friend does too. So I started by drawing a vague teacup shape to create a pattern to help me cut the felt. So I cut 4 pieces for the cup and 1 piece for the tea. And I also drew a tea bag shape that I doubled. And what you see is my attempt at embroider a flower on this tea bag, which was okay-ish. Inside the tea bag, I attached the end of a thread to the knots of the embroidered flower, which would allow me to link it to the teacup. And since my friend loves Ghibli, I thought I would add Gigi on the teacup, but you can leave it blank or add any elements of your choice. For the other end of the tea bag thread, I attached it at the bottom of the piece of felt that would serve as tea. And then I glued parts of it that I knew I wouldn't have to pass a needle through to the back of the teacup. Then I sewed together the 2 pieces that constitute the handle with my good old blanket stitch. And I oversewed the visible part of the tea. And then I finally added the top part of the cup. If you want, you can glue that part to the bottom, but I kind of like the idea that the tea bag could fit in the cup, because this is just so adorable. I honestly love this bookmark so much, I might make one for myself. And yeah, I think this is a really sweet gift for someone who likes reading. For the second bookmark I created, because apparently all of my friends are bookworms, I cut 3 triangles of felt with what I wanted to be dog ears but ended up looking like a llama, as well as an oval for the nose. I used black thread to create the mouth and attached this piece onto the base and embroidered as well the other details of the face. I glued the 2 first pieces together to hide the threads and prevent the book pages to get stuck in them. And then I attached them to the back piece. To make this little gift, you are first going to create a sort of roundish shape, but with a flat bottom and with a hole in the middle, kind of like a bowl. And then you're gonna tape it to secure the shape. up and use air dry clay or polymer clay, which is what I'm using to cover it. In case you don't know, polymer clay is a type of clay that becomes really sturdy after baking, and I really like using it for all kinds of little creative projects. It's really useful. So after covering it, I used my fingers as well as a little silicone tool to smooth the surface. If you're using air dry clay, I'm pretty sure that you can use some water to help you as well to smooth the whole thing. So then I create small half circles to create the ears. I mean, it was originally supposed to be eyes, since at first I wanted to make a frog, but I ended up changing my mind halfway through, and I don't know, I just decided I would make a bear for some reason. I have also seen lots of Ghibli themed clay calendars that were adorable, and so then I sealed these ears to the rest of the calendar with some liquid clay, but that's totally optional. You can just use a little tool or, I don't know, a toothpick or something. After this, I created 2 little cubes and 3 little rectangles to write the date. Just make sure all of these elements can actually fit into the hole you created, because I didn't really do this properly, and after baking I realized that it was barely fitting in if I forced it a little. So I definitely didn't make the most practical calendar, but that's okay. It does not have to be perfect. Then I painted the whole thing with acrylic paint, and I also used some Posca pen for the little elements, and I varnished the whole thing, and it was done. So this next gift is kind of the trickiest and most time-consuming DIY of this video, but I really think that's worth it. Just keep in mind that it was the first time I was sewing a bag, and it's definitely not perfect. I am a beginner at sewing things, so I'm probably going to butcher the art of sewing. However, amateur crafter to amateur crafter, I thought I would share how I made this without a ton of sewing knowledge. So I took some old jeans that I cut a little below the crotch, and I oversewed what I had cut so it wouldn't fall apart, and I sewed together the 2 bottom parts of the jeans. Then I realized I forgot to cut 2 little squares on each side of the bottom, because without doing that my bag was way too flat, so definitely maybe do this before sewing both parts together. So after cutting the tiny squares, I tied together the length of the square. It's a little hard to explain, but I hope you see what I mean with the image. And yeah, doing this definitely helped adding some volume to the bag. Then I wanted to add a little pocket, so I reused some old pocket I found, traced and cut a line where I would place the zipper, and I sewed it on the inside. I also folded the sides of the line I had cut to prevent it from unraveling, and the fact that the pocket was pre-made was so practical because I didn't have to make it myself, which I really appreciated. I decided I would use some red embroidery thread to add some popping accents, but it's really up to your taste, or at least the taste of the person you want to gift this for. I am testing different options to see where I want to add some additional pockets, and at first I wanted to do like symmetrical pockets, but with this little thingy I think it's just gonna look weird. And then I added some other external pockets that I made myself this time because I really wanted the bag to be a little chunky. So for each pocket I cut 1 big rectangle of the legs of the jeans that I had left and a thinner one to create a lid, and I oversewed the edges and then sewed the rectangles onto the bag. I basically finished the pockets. It looks kind of wacky, but that's fine. I think it's pretty cute. Am I trying to convince myself that it's cute, or do I actually think that it's cute? I don't know. You can decorate your bag with a bunch of different things: embroideries, ribbons, beads, trinkets, fabric patches, and so on. And so for me, I really wanted to add some stars, so I cut them out of jean scraps and I oversewed. I don't even know how many times in this video I've pronounced the word sewing or oversewing, but anyways, I oversewed their edges with my good old blanket stitch and sewed them onto the bag. I then cut 2 long and thin rectangles of jeans to create handles and 2 rectangles of floral fabric for the bottom of the handles, but you can also just use like jeans. I oversewed the rectangles and then I placed back to back 1 jeans rectangle and 1 floral rectangle, and I sewed their sides together. I let one little side open so I could flip it over, and then I sewed the hole I left by hand. So for this whole project, there were definitely parts I couldn't really sew with a sewing machine because I'm not super experienced with it, and also sometimes my sewing machine does super weird things, and I'm not sure if it's because I just don't know how to use it properly or if it's just unreliable. After this, I added a lining inside the bag because the inside was just too messy. I couldn't leave it like this. So I measured the inside of the bag and I cut 2 pieces of teddy bear fabric accordingly. I oversewed both pieces and pinned them onto the bag to make sure of the shape I would follow to put these 2 pieces together. And I also added a zipper, and I don't know, I forgot to record this, but that's totally optional anyways. And then I put them on the inside of the bag and sewed the lining directly on the zipper because that was what seemed the easiest thing to do. I'm not sure it's something that you should do like science bag wise, but yeah, I guess it worked for me. And I also attached the handles to the bag, making sure they were centered and using a light blue thread that was very similar to the color of the bag, so the sewing thread wouldn't be too noticeable on the outside. And then it was finally done. I'm really happy with how it turned out, especially since it allowed me to repurpose old jeans that I wasn't even wearing. I actually crafted this a few months ago. I gave it to my mother, so yeah, she has been using it almost every day for quite a while, and from what she told me, she absolutely loves it, and that makes me so happy. So the next little present is a tiny Merry Christmas pop card. I decided to make it in the shape of a gift box because, I don't know, I thought it was cute. So I traced a square and then I drew a ribbon and traced its shape on the bottom part of my paper by folding it. If you are not really comfortable drawing this, or if you don't really know how to draw it, you can always trace it. That's not a crime. So after cutting the shape and using a scalpel or a box cutter to cut the whole of the ribbon, I colored it with alcohol markers. And I kind of wish I had used watercolor because, I don't know, I think it gives such a warm, cozy effect to illustrations. Then I cut a small rectangle of paper and I folded it in the middle and on the sides as well in order to be able to glue it inside the box to create a three-dimensional effect. And then I drew a tiny gingerbread man inspired by my idol in Shrek, and I cut it and glued it on the strip I previously created. I wanted to add stars that were kind of popping out, so I cut teeny tiny cardboard squares that I glued as well onto the card, and then I added some stars on top. And yeah, you can adapt this idea to your taste and create a lot of cute little pop cards. You can also create themed object of the favorite movie or the favorite TV show of the person you want to make a gift for. For instance, I created this or that and I made videos about how I did it, so feel free to check them out if you're interested. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching if you're still here. I had a lot of fun crafting these little gifts, and I also saw a lot of amazing DIY gift ideas on TikTok or Pinterest that I really wanted to do, but unfortunately I just didn't have time to craft them. But I'm definitely keeping these ideas in mind for another time. By the way, I make crafting and drawing videos, so if you're interested in any of those things, feel free to check out my channel. And yeah, see you soon. Bye!